We are, as a people, inherently and historically opposed to secret society, opposed to secret oaths, opposed to secret proceedings, secret proceedings. No official of my administration, whether his rank is high or low, would interpret my words here tonight as an excuse to censor the news, to stifle dissent, to cover up our mistakes, or to withhold from the press and the public the facts they deserve to know.
All right. Welcome to Conspiracy Corner Podcast, everyone. This is Abe, your host. It is June 5th, 2026. I had 2 days off. Ain't gonna lie. Like I said, last two episodes, I just hadn't been feeling good. Did a little bit of weed eating. I weed eated the front yard. Did a little bit of stuff around the house, dishes, but for the most part, man, I don't know what has been going on, but I've just been tired, a lot of sleep, exhausted. Some of it's physical, some of it's mental, I don't know. So I picked myself up by the bootstraps. Got to go to work tonight, but I was like, hey, I got some time, got up a little early, so I'm like, let's do a podcast. Let me plug my stuff real quick. If you want to donate to the channel and support the channel, it helps pay for pens, papers, notebooks, flash drives, all that stuff. I have a Buy Me a Coffee account set up in the link below. If you donate to the channel, I will snail mail you a bumper sticker. And you will also get a signed bookmark. So, let's get on with the show. Lots of stuff's been going on with all this alien disclosure stuff. This was a little bit of old news, nothing too old. You guys know me, I try not to cover anything too old unless it's something timeless, and just more of a fun episode and less informative, but just more fun, Apparently this is May 27th, so last week, 4 different alien species have been, they're talking about it in the news and stuff. For anyone who, like me, has studied ufology for years, we already kind of knew about these 4 different species, but with all this disclosure stuff going on, there's a lot of more blue-pilled people who are kind of waking up to conspiracies in general, and they're kind of getting into the whole ufology stuff. So it's kind of big news for them, and I find it so insane that this is just on mainstream news. Because like I said, I've had 2 UFO encounters. I've been interested in aliens and UFOs since probably 2013, 2014, so over a decade. But I'm of the opinion, if you've watched any of my UFO disclosure videos, I have a playlist on YouTube, go check it out. I think it's more of a psyop, I'm not saying that UFOs don't exist, I'm not saying aliens don't exist, but I think the government is using it as a psyop for Project Bluebeam, to issue in one world government. So this we're going to go through this article and see what it says about the 4 species, alien species. So UFO Insider claims U.S. Has bodies of 4 different alien species from downed spacecraft in government custody. So this dude's saying they literally have 4 different bodies from 4 different species of aliens that the U.S. government supposedly has. New claims that the United States has recovered remains of 4 separate species of alien life are sending shockwaves throughout the UFO disclosure movement, further drumming up conversations surrounding the government's knowledge of otherworldly life. Dr. Hal Puthoff, a CIA-funded researcher, keyword right there. Why is it that those three letters always pop up? I'd say not always, but I'd say 90% of conspiracies. I don't know, maybe that's too much. We'll say 75. 75% of conspiracies, man, always have those three letters attached to it. CIA. I was talking to my brother this morning. I'm like, I don't think there's ever one single time that I've ever heard anything good the CIA has ever done. And I just find it funny that behind almost every conspiracy, those three letters always pop up. You know? They're shady as fuck. So, a CIA-funded researcher and former Advanced Aerospace Weapons Systems Applications Program Advisor, that's a mouthful, announced the new revelation while appearing at a UFO roundtable on Steve Bartlett's The Diary of a CEO podcast. I've never heard of this podcast. I might have to go and check that episode out and see what all was said. Apparently it was a roundtable alongside Age of Disclosure director Dan Farah last week. I have not seen this Age of Disclosure. A buddy of mine that I work with, this QAnon guy, I think he sent me a link or just a promotional still frame for it, of the whole Age of Disclosure thing that's supposedly coming out. Let me know in the comments if you've seen it. Let me know if it's worth watching. I might watch it for conspiracy cinema, you know. Which I have more plans of doing that. And there's a couple movies I want to do watch-alongs to on OBS, so that way you guys can watch and we can live stream or whatever. It's just ideas that I have. Am I ever going to get to it? Who the fuck knows? So, given the level of quality of their technology, if they didn't want to be seen, we wouldn't be seeing them, Puthoff said on the podcast. Which would make sense to me. Let's say space is real, and it is what they tell us it is. If these things can travel from Zeta Reticula or the Draco constellation, I don't think it would be traveling like nuts and bolts, just traveling through space at a certain miles per hour. I think what they would be doing, and what I've always heard, is it would be folding time and space and literally time traveling. Kind of like warp speed type shit that you see on Star Trek, you know? So it seems if they didn't want to be seen, they wouldn't have to be seen. It's either they don't give a fuck if they're seen, if they're extraterrestrial. I think most of these things we see are military aircraft, experimental, just being straight up. But let's pretend aliens, they're aliens. I'm not saying it's aliens, but aliens, you know. If they were, it's either they don't give a fuck if they're seen, or they want us to see them for some reason of hey, we're here, you know. Believe in us. So it seems I would say that there's evidence that for whatever reason they're wanting to be seen. Puthoff went on to claim that federal officials have recovered 4 separate types of extraterrestrial life from various UFOs. By the way, this Puthoff guy, he's CIA funded, so that's sketchy as hell. But if you guys know anything about this dude, if he's shady as fuck, if you guys got any tea on him, I would love to hear it in the comments section. Quote, people who have been involved in recoveries have said there are at least 4 separate types, Puthoff said. Now, I have not had direct access to that, but I believe the people who I talked to, 4 separate types of life. So while Puthoff did not elaborate on the specific types of suspected alien species, his former AAWSAP colleague, we'll just call it OSAP from here on out, Dr. Eric Davis previously revealed they included Nordics, which I believe they're like the tall whites with blonde hair, blue eyes. They tie in with like the Thule Society, which we need to do a whole episode on it. Let me write that down real quick. Put it in my notes, because I've been wanting to cover them for years. They always get brought up. Essentially, to keep it short, it was like ties in with the Aryan race, Nazism, extraterrestrial communication with a group of psychic girls. They all had long hair that was blonde, blue eyes. They were doing seances, supposedly contacting extraterrestrials. It's actually pretty neat, like World War II shit, you know. I've always said World War II is like the most interesting war that I enjoy studying, because it's like, not that I like the Nazis or something, but they were into like some of the weirdest, craziest shit, you know. Occultism and looking for the Holy Grail and searching for Atlantis, building time machines, Diglocka or whatever. So, and I've heard too that the Nordics are also like Palladians, which are like from the Palladian constellation. A lot of people with like blonde hair, blue eyes, and pale skin think that they are literally from the Palladian constellation. Who the fuck knows? The Greys, which is the classic, you know, little gray guy, big head. There's ties to Aleister Crowley with them, with Lamb. I think if the Greys are real, I think they're probably us from the future time traveling. Because wouldn't it make sense, like, they have big heads, little bodies, meaning they don't do physical labor anymore. None of them have genders, and I mean, you see how the whole transgenderism stuff is going on right now. I could definitely see them wanting us to all just be genderless. They're, from what I've heard, they're half biological, half mechanical, and half artificial intelligence. They're like cyborgs, you know, all hive mind and shit. So it definitely sounds like us from a dystopian future. The insectoids, which is like mantis types. I've heard a little bit about them. And of course the reptilians, which are like supposedly the most evil and violent. If you go into the whole David Icke, reptiles rule the world, the Queen of England is a reptile, you know. If you read Princess Diana's diary or whatever, which we'll have to cover one day. That's a whole rabbit hole. Sorry, I wanted to write that down. Like I said, man, I always like doing an episode. I will come up with 3 or 4 more episodes to cover. It's fun. I never run out of shit to talk about, you know. But this is all according to this this guy Eric Davis. So citing intelligence, and by the way, like I said, this is all shit we've known in the ufology community. We've known this shit for forever. So this Puthoff guy is CIA funded, which is sketchy as hell. They're doing all this disclosure shit, which I find is sketchy as hell. I find it very convenient. And now all of this shit that we have been talking about for years and getting called crazy by our family members. I mean, when I started getting into ancient astronaut theory and me and my ex-wife had our UFO experience, I'm not gonna lie, dude, my mom literally thought I was schizophrenic and kind of cut me off, you know, and she's like, Abe's crazy, you know, he believes in the Anunnaki and the old gods and he's lost his mind, you know, and it's like, how is this any crazier than what you believe? Like talking snakes and giants and shit like that. Like, it's the same fucking shit. We're talking about the same shit. I'm just not speaking to you in a King James biblical way, you know. The Anunnaki are actually in the Bible. I think they call them the sons of Anak, you know. But anyways, So it is a little irritating that we've been talking about this shit for years and now it's just mainstream. There's all these newcomers who steal older content creators' information and never give them shout outs. We've been called crazy. We took all the bunt of it and now it's just mainstream, and yeah, it's just cool to talk about now. So it's a little irritating. Citing intelligence reports last year, Davis reportedly claimed that each of the biological life forms pulled from supposed UFO wreckage is similar to humans in appearance, since they possess 2 arms and a pair of legs, so humanoids. This guy's saying biological, so he's not even bringing up anything about the Greys being half biological and or just completely robotic. I've also heard accounts that people think they're completely robotic. I think it's probably a mixture of all three. Probably biological, half biological, and completely robotic, you know. The revelation does not come as a surprise to experts within the UFO disclosure movement. Okay, at least they're, you know, kind of basically saying what I just said, of like, we knew about this shit forever. Depending upon the UFO researchers that I have talked to, they talk about there being variations of those 4 forms. I have also heard that there are amphibian type UFOs or aliens, so USOs, like frog aliens, you know. There was one cryptid. They were called like the Frogmen. They were in a certain place here in the United States. They were little frogs with little sticks dancing around and talking and shit. We're going to have to cover that on an episode. It's the weirdest, craziest cryptid story. So maybe that's what he's talking about. I also did an episode in the past. I think it was called Olalu's Adventure. If you're on Spotify, I'll link it on related episodes. I did several episodes going through the Book of Enki, and that was one of them. And if I recall, the way Sitchin described it as this, they would wear frog suits, like frog hands, and like, so they would look like frogs. But I mean, I don't know, maybe they're shapeshifters, maybe they can become amphibian. So I don't know. So yes, there are claims that there were many different species visiting us. Kent Heckenlively, author of Catastrophic Disclosure, told Fox News Digital. So that dude sounds like he wrote a book on disclosure, catastrophic disclosure, so he probably has the more negative mindset. I have a neutral mindset. If aliens are real, if we ever got visited, I think it's a 50-50 whether they would be malevolent or benevolent. I'm not like some speciesist over here. I don't think that they're all bad. I mean, it's kind of like humans. You got shitty humans. You know, you got Somalian pirates, and then you got people who just work a 9-to-5 office job and just want to go to the movies on the weekend. Like, we're not all evil pieces of shit, you know? I think the same would be for aliens. You know, I think there would be harmless races, there would be neutral races, and then there'd be just straight out evil races, you know? Of the 4 alien species believed to have been previously recovered by United States officials, the Nordics bear the most similar resemblance to humans, with the Greys often believed to consist of small, massive-eyed, hairless creatures. I would think if we have been infiltrated, it would definitely be the Nordics, because I've seen some beautiful, like pale, blonde-haired, blue-eyed women. Well, Nordic, like in, you know, the Nords. Yeah, that are just like, they almost look alien. They almost don't even look human, man. Like a totally different species, man. Plus, I mean, as weird as it sounds, like the Nordics, the actual Nordics, like in humankind, like, I believe they came from the Vikings. And dude, if they were aliens, I mean, talk about conquering and like invading a planet. Like the Vikings, that's pretty much what they did, was rape and pillage and conquer, you know. I don't know. It's kind of interesting. Maybe a little link there of like, hey, this is what we're meant to do. We are seeding your planet. The most commonly described aliens are the Greys, and there's been a lot of discussion about whether they are essentially the designed beings for our worlds. They seem to have the easiest time moving around, and they're the most commonly sighted aliens, Heckin' Lively said. Reptilians are reportedly depicted as lizard-like creatures with scales and a long tail and often walk on two legs. There's a crazy-ass case and story. I think it's one of the oldest stories, and it was actually reported in like newspapers and shit, of these reptilians that this guy discovered in some mine, an inner earth type shit in California, I believe. Like, it was printed in like the actual newspaper and everything. Some guy was like exploring a mine and found like this whole group of like fucking reptilians and shit, and it was like on mainstream news way back in the day. We'll have to cover it. Let's see. The fourth species, insectoids, reportedly resemble a praying mantis and are bug-like beings. The insectoids seem to be rarely seen, Heckin' Lively added, but when they are described by people, they are often described as beings in charge, which is a little bit terrifying to me. So, it is the most rare one that's talked about. There was this one really good movie called Love and Saucers. I'm going to write it down. It was free on YouTube. I don't know if it still is. It was like one of the most intriguing documentaries I've ever seen. And the insectoids were mentioned a lot in that. If you want to watch a really good documentary on it, this dude supposedly was having contact with insectoids and multiple other species, and like they were breeding with him, and since from when he was like a teen, and he draws paintings of them now, and he's like a VHS collector. It's a really good documentary. Check it out. It's called Love and Saucers. I wrote it down because I might do that as a conspiracy cinema episode. If you're new to the channel, I have a conspiracy cinema playlist. It's just one of my little side shows, one of my segments that I do of watching conspiracy related movies and or documentaries and reviewing them, talking about them. So he says when the insectoids are described by people, they are often described as the beings in charge, which is a little bit terrifying to me. So it sounds like they're the head honchos. The latest revelation comes amid a push from President Donald Trump's administration to increase transparency regarding UFO discoveries. I'm sorry, I'm not saying UAP, it's UFO. You guys don't get to just treat us like shit, the ufology community, and then, suddenly come in and now you're pro UFO and you're just like, yeah, we're just going to call it UAP now. Like, no, that's not how that works. This was our movement, and you just hijacked it. With the second batch of UFO documents being released by the Pentagon on Friday, which there was a newer batch. I haven't covered the first or the second batch just because most of what I've seen, everyone was pretty disappointed from the first one. It was sad. I seen some picture of some guy, he dressed his dog up as an alien. He was gonna have a little viewing party. He was throwing a little party, pizza and popcorn, and turns out it was so disappointing that everybody was just kind of sad at the party. The Epstein shit was insane though, the little bit that they released. I mean, we'll probably never see the rest, but that shit was crazy. I wasn't even podcasting at the time. I was taking a little hiatus for mental health issues, just losing a job and all sorts of shit, which it was a job I had to get out of because it was everyone was on the chopping block and it was heading that way for me. So it's I might as well quit than get fired. It looks better on a job resume. So I was unemployed at the time, just dealing with mental shit. But dude, like when the first batch of Epstein files came out, it was insane. Like I still haven't covered the Epstein shit. Is like my largest playlist on YouTube. And I still have tons of shit I want to get into with Epstein. Like I'll be covering that probably for years, because I feel like that dude was tied in with everything, like gaming, politics, music, movies. It's insane. Like it's just insane. While experts within the field often welcome the new sense of clarity within government agencies, Heckin Lively insists that the American people deserve to be given evidence surrounding the discoveries. That would be nice. If you do have 4 bodies of aliens, I would like to see it. Maybe footage, maybe documents, photos, something. Even if they're probably fake Hollywood level models or something, it would still be interesting to cover and see. Do I think this is a distraction from the Epstein files? Yes, but I also believe that if you have a brain and you're intelligent, you can focus on multiple things at once. Just an idea. The thing I always say is it's hard to just tell a little bit of truth, Heckin Lively said. Once you start telling the truth, you've got to tell it all. So I really think that the Trump administration has shown that they are interested in getting the truth out, except for when it comes to the Epstein files. I think some of the releases have been truly remarkable. I guess. I mean, I've covered some of it. It's interesting, it's entertainment, but I don't find it like, oh my God, this is amazing. In 2023, former Air Force intelligence officer and UAP task force member David Grush provided congressional testimony claiming that the federal government possessed non-human biologics pulled from dozens of downed UFOs, the New York Post had reported. I remember when that happened. I never covered it. But yeah, go look into that. I mean, I'm not going to cover it because it's so far back and we're already getting more disclosure shit. There's no point in me doing an episode on that. But I do remember when that happened. And it was mind-blowing to me, too, because it was like, Grush did this in front of, what was it, Congress? Yeah. I believe. Yeah. In front of Congress said, yeah, we have non-human biologics. And I remember from downed UFOs. And like they said it in front of Congress and pretty much admitted like, yes, aliens are real, and like nobody gave a fuck. It was just mind-blowing to me. Like, how is this not being covered and how is nobody talking about this? It was just weird. Which in a way, if they're gonna pull off the blue beam shit, like in a way I'm kind of happy that a lot of people don't give a fuck about this disclosure shit. I'm kind of stoked, because that means that people aren't buying into the PSYOP. Which gives me hope that they can't pull off blue beam, I don't know. Grush claims reportedly stemmed from FARA's documentary Age of Disclosure, in which individuals involved in the alleged crash retrieval program provided information surrounding the discoveries. I wonder if any of those crashes were Roswell. Which we need to do a whole episode on Roswell one day. A number of people I interviewed in my film, senior intelligence officials went on the record saying that there have been dozens of crashed craft of non-human origin over the years, FARA said on Jesse Watters Primetime. Elements of our government have recovered those crashes, and they've gotten out of that technology of non-human origin, and in some cases non-human bodies that were on these craft, FARA said. While questions continue to swirl regarding the possibility of biological life forms being in the possession of the federal government, Heckin Lively is offering a stark warning surrounding the reality of aliens and humans coming into contact with each other. So yeah, I guess we'll wrap it up there. What do you guys think, though? They're coming out and admitting that there's 4 different types of aliens. It's interesting. I think it's part of the psyop. I think the whole disclosure thing is ridiculous. And within the ufology community, there's very few people who are actually trustworthy. There's a lot of spooks. It's been that way forever. But let me know what you guys think. Please like, share, and subscribe. And hopefully I will be feeling better physically and mentally, and I can start podcasting more like I used to. But thanks for bearing with me. Y'all have a good day.